what's good? I'm Isaac Lee, and we're back with another review of the highly anticipated Godzilla vs. Kong. Gotta admit, when I first came into this, I was Team Kong the whole time. Even when the trailer came out and I saw Kong give Godzilla that right, I doubled down on my beliefs that he had it. But I had to be fair. When I was looking at this movie, I was looking at it like it was a real fight. I was judging it round 1, round 2, round 3, and who my winner was at the very end. So I'm gonna go straight into it. Round 1, I had to give it to Godzilla. Round 1, when they first meet up, we found out that, Kong can throw hands, but he can't breathe underwater the way Godzilla can, and Godzilla finds this out real fast. The fight takes place underwater. Godzilla finds out he can't, he can swim, but he can't breathe underwater that long. Wraps him up in his tail and starts swimming down in the opposite direction, and he was about to just drown him. And if he drowned him, that would have been like a 45-minute film right then and there. Had it not been for like human interference where they threw the missiles down there, and they threw him down just deep enough to cause an explosion for him to get loose, Kong would have died right then and there. So round 1 went to Godzilla. Round 2, okay, this is when Kong had Stormbreaker. I wasn't gonna call it anything else other than Stormbreaker. Once he got Stormbreaker and they fought in Hong Kong, I was like, okay, he knows to stay away from that beam, because every time he tried to shoot it, he grabbed it for the head. And then even that scene that you see in the trailer when he jumps up and he comes down with Stormbreaker, I done seen it twice, and both times I love that scene. And as much as I love that scene, I know that it looked familiar. Couldn't quite put my finger on where I'd seen that before, but it'll come to me. Round 2 goes to Kong with the assist with Stormbreaker. Round 3, also in Hong Kong, they go another round. They fighting this time. Kong, he's on defense. Godzilla, he's on him, and he starts clawing at him, and he's stomping on him. And they put this in the international trailer where he stomps on him and then yells in his face. But you get this kind of like, I was able to interpret their different roars, and because of the fact that Godzilla, when he's roaring in his face, he roars at his face for a long period of time. They do a close-up where he's just looking at him, and he really gets in his face, almost like letting him know that I don't know who you is. But so he roars in his face for a long time before Kong roars back, and I interpret his roar as being more like, okay, you made your point, you gotta get off me. So in that round, I gotta give it to Godzilla. So if you go round 1, round 2, round 3, by the end of the movie, I gave it to Godzilla. And of course they had the bonus where they bring in Mechagodzilla, and then it's the whole team up, which everybody knew was gonna happen, the whole Kong and Godzilla teaming up to fight Mechagodzilla. But at the very end, it kind of leaves with like more of a mutual respect between the two. I'd really like to see if they could do another one, Kong and Godzilla. I'd like to see how that goes. But those are just like the main attractions. Of course, we gotta get to these human characters. We got Alexander Skarsgård and Rebecca Hall, who they're basically just playing familiar archetypes of people who are kind of like, I want to say, working for Monarch, but they care more about the advancements of their career rather than actually caring about Kong. And then the child you see in it, she's basically just a prop that's used for some type of connection, some type of emotional connection with Kong, just to humanize him more. And that's it. We don't know her name. She doesn't get any type of like character development. She's just there. I literally have in my notes as just the child. For all you know, I could be talking about the Mandalorian. So then you have Rebecca Hall and Alexander Skarsgård. They're basically just manipulating her to get what they want out of Kong, and that's basically it. That's the first trio. Then we got the second trio. I call them the Adventure Trio, who you're gonna know from not ATL, but Atlanta. I was switching up the movie and the TV show. He's from Atlanta. So his whole character is that he's this conspiracy theorist who has a podcast and all of that, and he basically plays that same character who spouts off a lot of crazy stuff, but this time happens to be right. And then of course you gotta have the stereotypical, overly cautious, I should say, third wheel. He's basically the Velma of the group, without saying Jinkies, and I'm talking about Julian Dennison, who also played Fire Fist in Deadpool 2. So they go on their own little adventure with this big conglomerate called Apex Cybernetics, who's behind the making of Mechagodzilla and all about advancements as far as, they're trying to make themselves look all nice, talking about how, we can be that next stage and people that need assistance, if you're missing a leg, an arm, yada yada yada. But of course, like every other business like this, they gotta have nefarious means. There was a couple things that I did have questions on. Like, for example, I was curious how they got Kong in that enclosure to begin with, because at the very beginning of the movie, Kong is fully aware that he's in like a fake enclosure. You know, when he like takes that tree out the ground, he takes the branches off and then just chucks it right into the ceiling of that thing. Like, he's not dumb. He clearly knows that this isn't real. And then I like the fact that, you know, he finds his true home at the very end. Another thing I was curious about was Apex Cybernetics, and I had it written down in my notes. Oh yeah, what did Apex Cybernetics do initially to make Godzilla mad? Because in the movie we just see him tearing up stuff, and we know that something's triggering him to do that, but we don't know what it is. And all we know is that Apex Cybernetics, they just want to create Mechagodzilla to replace Godzilla. But we don't know initially what they did to just set him off. Here's a third question I did have. Who pays for all this? Godzilla and Kong, they do so much damage. I'm like, who's picking up the tab? They do a pandemic's worth of damage. And ain't no telling how many people they've killed in their little battle. Whether it was in their first encounter, whether it was in the 2 fights in Hong Kong. Another thing is that out of 40 years, our interpretation of something looking high-tech hasn't changed. Between now and when Tron came out, which was like 40 years ago, our interpretation of high-tech hasn't changed. We just throw up neon lights like it's no big deal. Like, if we want to show something being quote-unquote high-tech, neon lights. They got neon lights all through Apex Cybernetics. They got neon lights all through Hong Kong. They just light up everything with just just neon lights every now and then. Literally just all over the place. What else did I have? They definitely made sure to get Mechagodzilla's name right, because, you know, when you first see his debut, Brian Tyree Henry, I want to get his name right, he looks at it, he's like, oh, that's Robot Godzilla. And then Julian Dennison, who again, like I said, he's the Velma of the group, he gets the name right, said, no, that's Mechagodzilla. So they made sure to definitely get that right. They made sure that I did hear somebody say that they kind of like had their own they had their own kind of like Batman v Superman Martha moment, which you will definitely see in my thumbnail. I pointed that out. Another thing I want to point out, that it's funny that Alexander Skarsgård is playing in another movie having to do with apes, you know, considering this is the same guy who played Tarzan, who had a quote-unquote brother who was an ape. So now he's in Godzilla vs. Kong. Overall, I loved it. Saw it twice. I'm already eager to see what extras they would have in the Blu-ray, but at the end of the day, those are just my thoughts. But what are yours? And if you like what I had to offer, hit that like and subscribe at the bottom. I'm Isaac Lee. This is The Rundown.